Motorhead Garage, presented by Dragonfire Tools, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. And by AP Laser, leading the way.
Hey there, this is Motorhead Garage, and when we last visited you, we extolled the virtues of dry ice blasting and how it can tackle all kinds of media, all kinds of gunk, get it off of there and still protect the surface you're working on. And you, Jared, you benefit from dry ice blasting every day. How do you use it in your business?
Yeah, so we're predominantly automotive based, and we use dry ice blasting equipment to clean myriad of different vehicles, mainly a lot in the Porsche community.
Let's talk about that in particular. Why do the Porsche owners trust you to do dry ice blasting on their vehicles?
Well, the Porsche is an interesting vehicle, so it kind of is able to cross all chasms as far as a collectability and a fanboy response. Everyone loves a Porsche, right? If you've ever driven one, you kind of get that pretty easily. But from the factory, they came in a cosmoline coating, and over time, cosmoline starts to discolor, and it can pick up a lot of dirt and a lot of grime. So when you put a car up in the air and you start cleaning it with dry ice, the results that it yields are just unequivocally awesome. I mean, they're quite impacting.
How does dry ice blasting compare with maybe using some other kind of media? I know there's like walnut shells and all kinds of different things out there.
So what you find in a lot of other medias is they can be very harsh to a surface, right? So you could get sandblasting. Sandblasting has a pretty big heat transfer, so you could warp metal pretty easily, and you could pit it. So dry ice is pretty soft, unlike some of the other mediums, like a walnut shell is pretty hard. So when you take dry ice and you're hitting a surface, it's not going to damage the surface. So we can go over paint, we can go over rubber, we can go over a various amount of materials, wire loom, without actually hurting or degrading that surface, unlike some other medias.
How easy is it to switch from surface to surface with the machine from Cold Jet?
Relatively easy, assuming that you have enough experience. So that's really where, if you're seeking a dry ice blasting service provider, you just want to make sure they have enough trigger time so they understand, one, the technology, two, what their standard rates need to be as far as their air pressure and their flow rates and their particle size. And after you get that nailed down, it's actually pretty easy to jump back and forth between surfaces. However, we do prefer to clean one surface, then make some changes, and then go back to the other surface. That way we can focus on one area before moving to the next surface.
What do folks say when they initially see you roll up and you say you're going to do some dry ice blasting with your Cold Jet machine? Once you start to do it, how does their reaction change?
It seems like it's harder to explain, and then you show people and their eyes just get really big and they're like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And honestly, I mean, I've been running the technology for quite a term now, and I still find that same enjoyment behind it, because you get a surface that's heavily contaminated and then you clean it and you're able to see what's underneath. It's that initial shock, that initial emotional investment that it pulls out of people that I think really is kind of intoxicating about dry ice, and people are very receptive to it.
We touched on the versatility. What makes the Cold Jet machine so simple to use?
This machine, unlike many other commercial or industrial types of machines, so I think it's important to understand that dry ice blasting as a service has been around for quite some time in the industrial space, and this machine in particular is called the PCS60 by Cold Jet, and it allows us to control particle size, it allows us to control our flow rate, and allows us to control our air pressure. Those three settings in combination with some different types of tips allow us to have virtually limitless types of functionality when we're cleaning a surface. So maybe we're cleaning a really hard surface, like I believe these are control arms from a GM later model, to cleaning some plastic pieces or some anodized pieces on that G-body Porsche behind us.
And you can see from this spindle here that we did half of it, and it really took about 5 minutes, and I didn't do the most thorough job, but you can see how dramatic that is compared to the other side of the spindle.
And the other option in cleaning that is, what would you do before? Maybe some degreaser and a brush and water.
Gasoline, God forbid.
Right, you'd have a mess everywhere, and we haven't cleaned this surface after we blasted on that.
And I know the sort of the holy grail of maybe preparing your Porsche for sale or something like that, or the ultimate maintenance thing would be steam cleaning. That's what people would always do when I was growing up.
Yep.
Steam clean the engine. Why is dry ice blasting better than that?
The main reason I enjoy it more is that we don't have any secondary waste. And what I mean by that is we don't have any water that we're spraying over electrical components laying on the ground. Once you're done blasting, you're just sweeping up whatever's come off of the vehicle. So if we were to go and have this car up in the air and be blasting on it, we can go over electrical components. That car can be lowered onto the ground and it can be driven right out without having to wait for anything to dry out or compromise any of the electrical components. And it doesn't have to dry back out. Once you remove the material from the surface, it's ready to go.
If folks want to bring their vehicle to you for service with a dry ice blaster, where can they find you online?
So they can find us at Merritt Motors Co., MERRITT, motorsco.com. And you'll find us on all the social media channels. We're on Instagram, TikTok. We do a lot of YouTube shorts, just very short videos for people to see what dry ice cleaning, what we have in the shop, and let them make the determination if it's for them.
And there is more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonfireTools.com right around the corner. We hope you stay tuned for that.